to give you some information on the situation in Iran and the surrounding countries. We just had a meeting with some of the members of the cabinet, the relevant members of the cabinet, to see what is the situation as regards, number one, the Philippine nationals that are, as you know, the millions of Filipino nationals that are in the area. And so the first concern that we obviously have is the safety of our people. And we, at this point, the only reported casualty is the one that I reported last Sunday. We are hoping that that will be the last of it. But of course, we are continuing to monitor yung ating mga embassy, lahat ng mga attaches natin ay patuloy na umiikot at kinokontak yung ating mga Filipino workers sa iba't ibang lugar. At dahil ito ay hindi madaling gawin dahil as you know, patuloy ang pagbobomba ng mga area na ito. At nagsasagutan na. Binobomba sila ng Israel. Ang Iran, binobomba ng Israel at saka ng US. Ang Iran naman ay sumasagot at kung saan-saan na, dumawak na ang mga area na tinatamaan ng mga missile, ng mga bomba ng Iran. At yung mga sinasabi nating hindi apektado noon, medyo tinamaan na ngayon. And that is why we meron tayong mga pinaplano dapat na mga ruta kung saan natin mailabas ang ating mga kababayan, mga foreign overseas workers. Ngunit yung mga rutang yan ay sumara na dahil nung una, hindi naman sila binobomba. Ngayon, binobomba na. So, kaya very, very fluid ang situation. Kaya patuloy namin minomonitor. We are in continuous contact, constant contact with our labor attaché, of course, our ambassadors, our labor attachés, and our defense attachés para malaman kung ano ba ang sitwasyon. Unang-una, meron na tayong mga request for repatriation. Halo-halo ito. Meron dito yung talagang pauwi na, natapos na ang kanilang trabaho, natapos na ang kanilang kontrata, pauwi na dapat sila talaga. Yung basically, dahil nagsara lahat ng airport, walang lumilipad na eroplano, na-stranded sila. At yung isang grupo naman ay yung mga tiga doon na gustong lumabas at umalis doon sa danger area. So as of early this morning, 10 ang gusto magpa-repatriate from Iran. Ang pinakamarami from Israel, 297, 22 from Jordan, 231 from Bahrain, 586 from Dubai, 270 from Abu Dhabi. All together, that's 1,416 Filipino nationals who have requested repatriation. Ito ngayon ang problema. Ang problema, walang lumilipad na eroplano. At yung mga airport ay tinatamaan na. We have heard reports of attacks on different airports around the region. Generally this is by Iran. Yung mga tumulong sa Amerika at yung mga bansa na tumulong sa Amerika ay inaatake ngayon ng Iran as retaliatory strikes. Kaya very fluid ang situation. Ang assessment namin is delikado siguro magpalipad. Kahit na kaya nating magkumuha ng eroplano at ipasok, wala tayong magagawa. Dahil, number one, the airports are closed. There are all no-fly zones. This is a combat area. And ang kinakatakutan ko sa lahat ay yung nangyari, I'm sure nabalitaan ninyo lahat, 3 fighter jet ng Amerikano ay pinabagsak ng Kuwait by mistake. So, kung commercial airline, baka magkamali din at baka they will attack it by mistake. So that's what we are worried about. So siguro yung pagpalipad muna, yung pagpalipad ay hindi muna natin gagawin. Ngayon, by land, meron mga option na nagsasabing by land. Yun din ay delikado din dahil kung magkaroon ng friendly fire incident, alam mo, pagka may putukan, it is an active combat zone. Pag nakakita ka ng maraming sasakyan, baka bombahin yun. Because they will misidentify it as some hostile movement. So that is also dangerous. Although that will be the best option that we will have in the immediate future. Dahil nga kinakatakutan pa natin yung pagpalipad. So ang advice na binibigay natin sa ating mga kababayan ay maghanap kayo ng safe place at doon kayo muna at you stay there and you stay in a safe place and stay indoors and stay away from areas of danger. Sa ngayon, we have the most dangerous area for our people right now would be Israel. Dahil tuloy-tuloy ang attack sa Israel. But the situation is Israel, dahil sanay sila sa gera, marami silang mga bomb shelter na pwedeng pagtaguan. At yun ang naging advice namin sa ating mga kababayan, doon muna kayo. Para maging mas maginhawa para sa kanila, kumuha tayo ng nakipag-usap tayo sa mga iba't ibang hotel na malapit doon sa bomb shelter, na doon sila muna pumunta, doon sila muna, at pagka may air raid alarm, tumakbo muna sila sa bomb shelter. And that is the advice we have given to our nationals in Israel and also our nationals everywhere else. Na if you are in a safe place, kung malayo naman kayo, just stay put and be safe. And we will slowly try to find ways. For those who want to be repatriated, we will find ways to get you out safely. And that is the key thing here. Pinakauna nating tinitignan ay dapat ligtas sila, hindi sila magkaproblema, hindi sila ma-attack dahil sa misidentification, dahil nga tuloy-tuloy ang pagbomba, missile attacks, drone attacks, and we already have seen friendly fire incidents in the past day. So kailangan natin bantayan yun. So right now, safety first for our people, and they are in constant contact with our embassy staff, both and the families of those who are working and living in the Gulf countries. Meron silang hotline with the Department of Migrant Workers and also with the DFA para maitanong naman nila kung anong kalagayan ng kanilang mga kamag-anak. The other thing is yung contact, may telepono pa. So they can actually call their own their relatives or their friends and see if they are okay. And kung kailangan, kung wala silang makontak, yung mga kamag-anak nila ang magsasabi sa atin na delikado yung mga tao natin in this place, pwede niyong puntahan at dalhin ninyo sa safe place. So, in general, that is the situation right now. We are, of course, on 24/7 alert. The embassies and all our foreign posts have given the hotline numbers and all the other modes of contact. But essentially, ang advice natin sa kanila, shelter in place and follow the host government's advice. Yun ang magiging pinakamahalagang impormasyon dito, ay kung anong sabihin ng mga local authorities. Kaya mabuti naman, dahil napakarami nating kababayan doon, marami tayong contact point sa mga gobyerno sa iba't ibang bansa, kung saan nandoon may OFW na Pilipino. So, ang ginagawa natin, sila ang tinatanong natin. Sila ang pinakamaganda, sila ang may pinakamagandang impormasyon na makapagsabi sa atin, safe na ilabas ninyo na, i-evacuate nyo na yung mga tao ninyo. And what means of evacuation that will be, and where, kung saan idadaan, o saan idadaan ang ating mga kababayan para sila ay malagay muna sa safe place at eventually maiuwi dito sa Pilipinas. So these are the plans that we have to in place. Maglalagay na sana tayo ng mga quick response team doon sa mga crossing area. Pero kagaya ng nasabi ko, yung mga crossing area, kung maalala ninyo, halimbawa, remember when the Hamas attack was done in Gaza, dinaan natin sila sa Rafah crossing, nagpunta sila sa Egypt. Ngayon, ang karamihan ng mga Pilipino in Israel are in Tel Aviv. Malayo na yun sa Rafah crossing, so we have to find other ways. So sa ngayon, we are depending on the advice that will be given to us by the local authorities in the place where our nationals, where our people are. And that is what we are hoping we will be able to determine, to assess when it is safe for us. We already are collecting assets, mga bus, mga sasakyan. We are already collecting those assets para pagbigyan tayo ng kahit counting window. Sabihin, meron kayong 3 oras. Ready na tayo para mailabas na kagad sila. O yung mga kababayan natin, there's another thing that we're doing. Yung mga kababayan natin, mga workers natin na nasa areas kagaya ng mga oil refineries sa Saudi. Oil refineries have now become a target. Maraming Pilipino doon. So in the other places that are danger areas where there are plenty of Filipinos, nilalabas din natin sila doon to bring them to a safer place. So yun ang ating ginagawa for now within the area. Mahirap pa talagang pumasok at lumabas doon sa area na ngayon dahil ang lumilipad lang ngayon ay ang mga fighter jet at saka drone at saka missile. Kaya it's not a place that you would want to put in a civilian aircraft to take out our nationals. But as I said, the situation is changing by the minute, by the hour. Kaya we just have to be in very good and close contact with the local authorities so that they can give us. But we are also talking to our friends in the United States, our friends in Israel, so that they can give us an idea. Hindi sila magsasabi kung ano yung gagawin nila, pero they can give us advice. Huwag kayong munang papasok dito sa lugar na ito dahil magulo pa dyan. Huwag kayong papasok. O dito, medyo safe na dito, etc. So lahat ng ating kayang kausapin para magbigay ng impormasyon sa atin, para naman maging safe ang ating mga kababayan ay ating ginagawa. The other aspect that we met about today was about the economic impact that this will have on us. As you can imagine, the prices of oil have already taken a adjustment upwards. It went all the way up to 82 pesos. I'm sorry, $82 initial shock. Pero they closed out at 76.50. So nag-adjust na pababa. So that is expected. First of all, let me assure everyone that we have sufficient supply of oil. Meron tayong stockpile that are approximately 50 to 60 days in terms of gasoline, in terms of fuel oil, and in terms of kerosene. So that is let me immediately allay the fears of everyone that our supply of oil-derived product of oil products, oil-derived product, even fertilizer is something that we had to look at, and we have sufficient supply. Let me look at the precise numbers. For our stockpiles are diesel, we have 50.5 days. Fuel oil is 51.5 days. Gasoline is 51.5 days. Kerosene, we have 67.5 days. Jet fuel, A1 jet fuel is 58 days. LPG is 29 days. So we are okay for that period of time. Ngayon, to further provide the supplies of these oil products, ay yung ating mga pinagkukuhanan ng ating mga iba't ibang oil products ay meron din silang stockpile. So, hindi pa yun, hindi nalabas, hindi pa nila ina-export. So that is another potential supply for us. However, we must be very clear that if you are a country that is holding a stockpile of oil products, you will export as little of it as possible so that you keep your own stockpile high while this crisis is going on, while we do not know what is going to happen. However, beyond that, of course, there will be a great effect on the oil prices that we are facing here. We have already seen the reaction on oil products, sa crudo, sa gasolina, sa LPG, at naramdaman na kaagad, and that's again expected. So we have put together some scenarios. We cannot know. We have heard many estimates kung gaano katagal ito. Ang naririnig natin coming out of the United States is 4 to 5 weeks. Hopefully, it will be less. And hopefully, before the 4 to 5 weeks, the level of intensity of the fighting will come down. In other words, that the commerce will proceed in a more or less normal way, number one. And secondly, that the oil production will start to normalize. And hopefully, of course, this is our hope, sooner rather than later, that this will happen. However, in the scenario that Dubai crude it comes between between $80 and $90 per barrel, and this lasts for 2 months, we have identified, and assuming that Iran exports continue, although I don't think that is a fair assumption anymore, because that's going to be the first place that people will the attacks will occur. So the response of the government, some of the interventions that we are thinking about, is to have targeted fuel subsidies to the affected area, to the affected sectors, such as the transport sector, the agri-sector. The agri-sector comes into play because fertilizer is a petroleum derivative that comes from the oil, and for fisher folk. As soon as oil prices breach $80 per barrel, meron na tayong gagawin, and we will use several of the funds. We will use the funds. For example, we will use the Pantawid Pasada program and the subsidy for farmers and fisher folk. We are also trying to look at the possibility of easing the transport cost burden to the to workers, for the traveling public, providing maybe no fare bus rides along major routes, and maybe to hold fares down on the transport, our public transport facilities. And of course, we are now going to look for whatever subsidies we will need to provide so that hindi naman masyadong maramdaman ng working public ang pangyayaring ito. There is also a proposal that we will examine further. I am going to talk to the leaders in both the House and in the Senate to maybe this is not yet a sure thing, but this is something that we are discussing, and it could be helpful. Is to give me the President the authority to reduce excise tax on petroleum products should Dubai crude exceed $80 per barrel. And that wala pa tayo doon. But if in case that happens, then maybe this is something that we will have to. This is one tool that we will have to have. So I will discuss it with the leadership of Congress and to see it is going to be an emergency measure. It is not going to be a permanent measure. It will be something that we will dispose of as soon as the crisis is over. And there has been a coordination between the Department of Energy and the oil companies that whatever price increases they are going to institute, that they be done in a staggered manner. Wag bigla, para hindi naman biglang tataas ang presyo ng petroleum products ng langis. Ito ay yung mga produkto na ginagamit ng taong bayan ay dahan-dahan lang paaakyatin. And that will hopefully become a little bit less less of a problem to the working public. The other area that we looked into are what will be the effect on the remittances, because this is something that will affect the families of those that are remitting funds from our workers in this part of the world. Karamihan ng remittances natin ay talaga diyan galing. Yan ang pinakamalaking working group natin na nandun. Hindi nila kasama ang pamilya nila kung hindi nagre-remit ng pera dito sa Pilipinas. It's a bit of a mixed bag in the sense that the remittances, again, it's very, very hard to make an estimate. Right now, most of these places, I would estimate, Sec Hans, would you estimate how many of the workers that are in the Gulf countries are presently working normally? Just a rough estimate.
I would say a substantial number, maybe around 80-85%, Mr. President.
That's what I'm getting. More or less 80 to 85%. Sinasabi nila, ang report nila sa amin, nagtatrabaho pa rin sila, na pumapasok pa rin sila. Kung hindi sila makapasok, meron silang mga work from home. So yun ang yun ang naging effect doon sa workforce natin sa iba't ibang lugar. The other effect of the other statistic which will have an effect on remittances is going to be the exchange rate between the dollar and the peso. So we will just have to watch that very, very closely and to see what the effects are. That's why tawag ko mixed bag. Halo-halo talaga. May aakyat, may bababa. Kasi kung umakyat ang peso, lumalaki ang remittance. Pero kung bababa naman, ang actual na dolyar na pinapadala dito, di bababa. We don't know where that balance is going to end as of now. So we are watching it very closely. And for those who are interested, there is some sensitivity analysis that we have done what the effect is per $1 of per barrel cost will be, and what the effects will be on inflation, what the effects with the debt is here. Sec Arce has provided us with some numbers, but these are very rough estimates on how it will affect the economy. So right now, again, the problem that we have is that it is a very fluid situation. Now, it's a very volatile situation. The information that we are receiving is limited, as you can imagine, as it is a war zone right now. And so we have prioritized, of course, the safety of our people who are in the war zone. Number one, that's always the number one priority. And secondly, after that, what the effects will be to the working public here in the Philippines, and what are the interventions that the government can take up, which I have laid out for you in a general sense. So we will have more I think each of the departments will, as we find out more, which of the departments are going to all the departments will be able to give you a more detailed analysis of what we have. But again, please understand that itong mga numero na sinasabi natin ay hindi pa tayo nakakatiyak dahil hindi natin nalalaman kung gaano katagal pa na mangyayari ito, gaano katagal pa bago babalik, gaano katagal pa yung presyo ng langis ay wala tayong control, as you well know, paano ang galaw niyan, saan pupunta yan. Ay kasama na rin dyan kung anong level ng dolyar. Yung peso naman di gumagalaw as of now, pero ang dolyar ang tinitignan din natin because they are all our remittances are being sent to the Philippines in dollars. Okay, so that's the general gist of it. I will take a few questions and then I will leave it to the department secretaries to give you whatever more detailed information that they can. Again, please understand that we cannot give you detailed information, very detailed information, not because we do not want to, but because we do not have it. And we cannot, hindi natin ayaw namin manghula o mag-speculate tapos mag-react ng mga tao, may gagawin na sasabihin, it is worse than we thought, it is better than we thought. Mahirap magbigay ng mga speculative na especially the numbers. So siguro wag na muna natin pag-usapan yung mga numero at kung gaano katagal ito. But we have, again, we are planning. So meron tayong best case scenario, meron tayong worst case scenario. Nakaplano tayo paano natin tulungan ang ating mga kababayan na nasa abroad, lalo na sa mga Gulf countries. Paano sila maging ligtas, maging safe, paano sila mailabas kapag may pagkakataon na, at kung ano yung epekto dito sa ekonomiya natin, at kung alin ng mga sektor ang tatamaan, at kung anong maaring gawin ng pamahalaan para tulungan sila na hindi masyadong maramdaman itong mga pagbabago sa presyo ng langis at sa pag-adjust ng presyo ng langis up or down. Hopefully, it will come down to back the normal levels that we had previous to this war. All right, so I'll take 3 questions before I'll...
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll take 3 questions from the press corps related to the President's announcement. First question, Ivan? Rafi.
Good morning, sir. Rafi Aying from the Daily Tribune. Sir, are you calling for a ceasefire, just like any other leaders in the globe? Are you,
I will call for a ceasefire.
Are you requesting for a ceasefire at least?
It's not. We are not a party to any of this. Of course, we want the fighting to stop, but it's not the Philippines is not going to call for a ceasefire. The only people who can call for a ceasefire are those who are involved. We are only involved tangentially, if you want to call it that, because of our people who are there. So we have expressed support for the countries that have come under attack, and we have made our feelings known that we hope that this crisis ends as quickly as possible, and we are asking, of course, for their continued assistance for for the safety of our people. But Let me do it now if it will help. Let's hope that there is a ceasefire and we, the Philippines, ask all parties to show restraint and to bring this to a close as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next question from Ivan, GMA 7.
Mr. President, with the expected oil price hikes in the coming weeks and disruption in the global supply chain, I think it's also a fair assumption na tataas din po ang presyo ng ibang mga consumer goods. Are there certain goods that we are bracing for, and what interventions are in place?
Well, it all depends on how long this lasts. Kasi kung matagal ito, doon mararamdaman. It takes a little while for these price shocks to go through the system bago maramdaman yung daily consumers na maramdaman nila sa presyo ng mga iba't ibang produkto. But because there will be, siyempre magkakaroon ng effect yan pero yung mga halimbawa, the only place where the transport has been disrupted is really in that area. So even if you think about it, yung mga barko na parating na rito, papunta, mag-deliver ng mga goods, they are still traveling towards here. So that's why I'm saying it will take time for any of the effects of the oil price shocks to work through the system. And of course, the prayer that we have is that before they work their way through the system, matapos na ito. So that hindi na masyadong maramdaman ng taong bayan.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last question will come from Ann Soberano from Radio Bombo.
Mr. President, good morning po. Mr. President, kung magtuloy-tuloy po ang pagtaas ng presyo ng crudo sa world market dahil sa tensyon sa Middle East, ano po ang contingency plan ng gobyerno sakaling magpatuloy ang pagtaas ng presyo ng crudo sa world market? Nabanggit nyo rin po kanina na magbibigay din po kayo ng subsidy sa fuel assistance sa mga sektor ng transport and agriculture. So sa harap po nito, Mr. President, posibleng sustained oil price shocks, paano po babalansehin ng inyong administrasyon ang energy security, price stabilization, at fiscal sustainability?
Well, I explained a little bit kanina, naipaliwanag ko na ng kaunti yung aming na mga intervention kung tawagin. Kapag ito ay ang presyo ng langis ay lumampas na sa $80 per barrel. So, yun na nga yung sinasabi ko, magpo-provide tayo ng subsidy para sa ating mga sektor, sa sektor ng ekonomiya na talagang maapektuhan, na mabigat. At yun ang nabanggit ko ay number one, of course, the transport sector, at saka ang ating lahat ng gumagamit ng langis, and that is of course that goes to everybody, but depending again on the price increases or decreases and the adjustments that will happen and how long those prices will be sustained or will last. Depende yan kung masyadong matagal, iba yung gagawin natin. We are already looking into adjusting, hopefully, the excise tax on fuel, on the other elements na financially magagawa natin to lower the prices of other goods. But even in the worst case scenario, I think that we will be able to provide at least some support to those critical sectors, and I hope that this is something that we will not have to do. We are still hoping and we are still praying that this doesn't last too long, and I hope and pray that our people will remain safe and that we will be able to weather this very difficult storm that is become global in scope. Kaya't marami tayong hinahanda kung ang ating panalangin ay hindi mapagbigyan at talagang patuloy pa rin ang labanan, marami naman tayong mga interventions. The other thing that I missed is that we have given instruction and to all government offices to find ways to be more to save on energy. That applies, panawagan ko na rin ito sa taong bayan. Maghanap tayo ng paraan upang mabawasan ang ating paggamit ng lahat ng mga sources of energy natin. Ito ay hindi pa, kagaya ng sabi ko, sapat naman ang supply natin. Ngunit ay baka sakali, ito ay kakailanganin natin gawin ito upang mabawasan nga ang pagbayad dahil tataas nga ang presyo. At hindi lamang sana sa government offices, but we have issued a directive to all the government offices to find ways, to find ways to save energy in every ways. Yung mga unnecessary travel, yung mga carpooling, yung mga bagay-bagay na ganyan. And these are things that that the general public can do. We encourage the use of public transport, private vehicles. Punuin naman ninyo yung sasakyan ninyo. Huwag yung isang tao lang ang gumagamit. All of these things can come together. We will give further guidance in terms of that. We will give further guidance. We will make public service announcements to make suggestions to people kung ano yung pwede pa nilang gawin para mabawasan ang kanilang paggamit ng energy. So that is the situation as we have it right now. Thank you all for coming in on this for this very rapidly called press conference. Magandang umaga.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Malacanang Press Corps, thank you very much. That concludes our press conference this morning. Thank you.